What's going on, everybody? I am BirdDog John. Thanks for joining us today, and we are going to kick things off here. It is 1 a.m. in Melbourne right now, and that is exactly where I am. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Robbie to the show. What's going on, man? All right, let's see. Hey, what's going on, Judson?
Hey, thanks for having me.
I do much more. We are joined with BirdDog Ian, who is at the Capture Summit over in Atlanta. So how's it going, man?
Hot and sweaty.
That's the most important question that our team can ask. Why are you needing this camera?
Now, I haven't tested this thing since it got here. This is something that I'm really excited that NDI did. That's cool. Obviously, there are lots of flavors here, but this is the 4250 line. And our little friend here. Say hello to my little friend. It's brewing in the back of my throat. Based on the recommendation of Senseless, we're going to give a Java Monster a try.
Oh, yeah, Pocky, dude.
We got a little Pocky, and
Yes.
I have been putting this off for an age.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
There is a Snacks on Stream mystery box brought to you by my Snacks on Stream manager, Brayton. What's going on, Bugsy?
There you go. What's going on?
Balu, good to see you, man. What's going on, NetHab? Hey, what's going on, Judson? And hey, Kevin, good to see you, man. What's going on, Jeremy? How are you? Thanks for jumping on. Oh, it's all good. What's happening, everybody? Hopefully you're doing well. I am BirdDog John. Thanks for joining us today. Lots going on, and you may be joining us from a bunch of other outlets that we are now streaming to. So we're streaming on Facebook in multiple places. So on the BirdDog page, on the user group, we're streaming actually onto my own personal profile, streaming to LinkedIn, streaming to the YouTube BirdDog page, to the BirdDog John YouTube page, to Twitch, and so a handful of broadcasts going out. So you might be joining us from various places. Maybe you got notified or something like that. But this is the BirdDog support show, or BirdDogLive as we call it. We like to just offer a couple of hours a week where people can come and ask questions in the chat and let us know what's going on. It's also not necessarily all support related, so we do all sorts of other things, as you probably saw from the intro video. We fool around and talk about all sorts of stuff, and then I have people on, and we chat with people in the industry, other BirdDog employees. We talk about all of our BirdDog zones and things that are going on. We have guys that are at shows. We had that interview with Ian so about a month ago, or a little more than a month ago, where we talked to him about a show that he was at, and he was it was actually for some local churches. It was basically just a support show for sorry, just checking my audio here. It was a support show for churches, and he was there on site. He took us on a little walking tour of what tables were there and what they were talking about. So that was pretty cool. It's great to have guys like him around and on the show. So if you are on YouTube, if you are on if you're on Twitch, if you're over on LinkedIn, any of those venues will allow you to jump in the chat and to comment. And if it's something that we should talk about, I'll bring it up on screen. What's going on, Balu? Good to see you, man. Bring it up on screen. We can actually chat about that and talk through it. So this is a perfect chance to get your questions answered. It doesn't matter if it's support or salesy. And sometimes we even have sales guys hanging around in the chat. And so it's all good. And then, like I said, if you jump on the comments, we can bring those in and share those with everybody. So feel free to let us know. Also, if you want to know, like the root place that I broadcast to is at birddogjohn.tv, which is there on the screen. That is my BirdDog account YouTube page, and so anything that I ever do will for sure be going up there, as well as these other outlets. So feel free to follow us on YouTube, both on the BirdDog page and on mine, and you'll never miss a show or clips or whatever else that we're up to. So feel free to reach out to us there. Apparently our chat commands are not working, so we'll sort that out You aren't you a moderator over on Twitch? We should be able to get you handled. Okay. The other thing that before we go too much longer, and because it's rounding out the business day over in the UK, is BirdDog Phil is going to join us, and so I'm going to bring him on. What's going on, Phil?
Hey, John. Yeah, no, good. Yourself?
Good. I'm doing all right. Glad you could make it today. And you've been super busy over there at in the European zone. What's been going on?
Yeah, no, we've been we're at IBC all weekend. So setup started last week. Show was Friday to Monday. So first IBC for 3 years since 2019. It was great to be back in Amsterdam. Well, it was great to be back in Amsterdam for the show. Not so sure about the airports on the way out, sort of Sunday and Monday. It was an absolute disaster. But yeah, the show was really good. It was really well attended. It was great to see people again. Lots of our distributors, resellers, and end users were there. So it was a really good show.
Awesome. So IBC is it's the second biggest show next to NAB, right? It's pretty big.
It's debatable this year as to whether IBC was bigger than NAB. Certainly felt bigger when we were walking around. I know, obviously, Central Hall, only 3/4 of it was being used at NAB this year. It's normally the whole hall, whereas IBC filled up all of the 13 halls. There are a couple of spaces here and there, but nothing significant. But yeah, no, it was busy. It was a good show.
Awesome. I know that like that European market is coming up pretty fast, and they just kind of clicking through. If you the show's obviously over now, but if you're wondering what that's all about, they and they're going to be back in September of 23. So there you go. We've already got the dates for next year. The well, basically, yeah, it's a massive trade show, and BirdDog had a pretty strong presence at it. Unfortunately, yeah, 13 halls. That was so. When we say halls, like how big are those halls? Because NAB, they're enormous, right? But there's only 4 of them total, I think.
Yeah, you could probably fit a couple of the halls into sort of South Upper and South Lower at IBC.
Gotcha.
But certainly some of the bigger halls, like Hall 1, etc., are sort of on a fair size, similar to sort of Central. So it's a big exhibition centre, and it does take over the whole of the Rai Centre in Amsterdam. So
oh wow,
yeah, it's pretty big. All of the big names were there. I think the only people notably missing this year were Panasonic, who didn't have a stand.
Really?
Yeah, no, Panasonic weren't there. They had boat parties, and they had a presence there, and they had sort of kit on other people's stand, but they didn't actually have a booth or a stand of their own. So that was interesting, because literally everybody else, in terms of the big manufacturers, had representation.
Right. Yeah, that's surprising, because they're a huge competitor, and they cover a broad gambit of things, like not just obviously broadcast equipment or whatever, but they have a lot of stuff that you would think that would be an obvious choice to have a booth there, but maybe not. And maybe they're still under the impression that the trade show is dead in the water after the COVID stuff, because it was a strange feeling when COVID was underway, because it seemed to me like a lot of manufacturers were saying, like, all right, well, that's the end of big trade shows, and that's not going to be a thing anymore. And then NAB happened, and that was a huge success, other than several of the BirdDog guys getting COVID. And we had a lot of good traction. Granted, we probably overspent on that show. I mean, I say probably just generously, but it ended up costing a lot, and so we ended up needing to recover that a little bit. But with the exposure that we got, especially with the product launches that we were doing at that show and some of the announcements that we made, I think the general consensus was it was worth it. So is that how you felt about IBC? Like, the BirdDog exposure was worth the time and effort?
Yeah, I mean, NAB, I don't think the guys at HQ actually set a budget for it, so it did get a little bit out of hand. NAB was an interesting show because it did feel very regional. It felt very much like a US show. I know there were some of our distributors, and there's some customers from outside of the US there. I was sort of thought that IBC may be similar, but having been there, literally spoke to people from the four corners of the world. So literally every continent there was somebody there, either a reseller or an end user. So it's very diverse. Which was great. It was really nice to be speaking to lots of different people, cultures, and different projects and different ideas and different user cases for Bird products. We didn't have 13 announcements like NAB, so we only had 2 real announcements at the show for IBC, which was the new P240 camera, which looks really nice. Image quality at the show, just up on some of the basic screens that we were using on the booth. It looked really nice. And we were in the dark part of the hall as well. So you could really sort of see the low light quality of the image as well, which was great. And then, of course, Cloud 3, which is due, I think, for release officially around the first, second week of October. So nice. I know Jan was pretty busy chatting with people about Cloud for the show, much like he was at NAB as well.
Yeah, that was a big busy corner over at NAB. So the fact that they have an update coming out, obviously will keep him pretty busy over there. Let me just check on here. Hey, what's going on, GoWeb? From India. Awesome. Thanks for checking in. And Tom, of course. Hey, what's going on, Tom? Good to see you, man. Welcome back. Yeah, so we okay, so the cloud item, what else were you showing at the show? Like obviously P110, 120 was there.
Yeah, we had all of the cameras, so P110 all the way through to the P4K, A300, A200, PTC keyboard. We had an update to the core monitors that we showed at NAB out on the stand for viewing. Unfortunately, they weren't running, but so we had the updated hardware with V-lock plates and some sort of other additions that we'd made since NAB. So they're looking really nice now from a form factor point of view. And then we had Cam Director, Cam Control, Cloud, Central to Enterprise, and all of that sort of stuff running as well. Yeah,
that's awesome. I know that, who was it? Was it you that was setting up the network, or was it Pav or somebody?
Pav set up the network. We used a couple of Netgear switches again. So we had a couple of switches, one on the front counter where all the cameras were for anybody that was there. And then we had a fiber link that ran then under the floor of the booth into the sort of back cupboard where we had the other switch. So it worked flawlessly from start of the show to finish.
Great.
And I love it. Once our stand set up, literally in the mornings, getting to the stand, it took us longer to open the cupboards than it did to get the cameras out and plug them in and get them fired up.
Yeah, it's a really simple setup to use, and I like the guys that are doing like the camera kit in a box and a Pelican case type of thing. Like it is really the answer. There is even I heard in April when I was discussing it with Netgear that there is going to be an overly simplified way to manipulate the reservation list, the DHCP reservation list, so that you can just set it in the web UI and not have to. You actually right now you have to go into the secondary, the back end and set it. But it's getting simpler and simpler to use, and it seems like Larian and his development crew are spending a lot of time listening to customers as to how they really need it to work, but then also listening to manufacturers like us and finding out, okay, what is when people take it out of the box, what's the intention? And so we've had good conversations with Netgear about that. And I know he's talking with, New Tech, and he's talking with all those, other companies in the manufacturing realm to make sure that he at least has a good cross section of what everybody needs. Primarily because everybody manipulates the SDK differently and they pick and choose the items that they want to use. And so the standardized way of putting cameras on a network is a little bit not standard. It'd be great if we could have kind of like a sit down with the heads of the 5 family, like Godfather, and hash out, okay, look, here are the standard ways that you should be implementing, or at least let New Tech tell us, like, this is what we expect out of, when you implement the SDK. So can you demo some Cloud 3 use cases? Demo use cases. I don't have anything set up today, but I will definitely line something up. Matter of fact, the guy to do that would be Jake, who I was going to have on the show last Thursday, but he but then he was purchased a ticket to go and hang out with Phil for a week. So he was over in Amsterdam, and he was going to show the central update. But Jake is also the guy that would do the cloud stuff. So Tom says,
Yeah,
sorry, couldn't catch up with you at IBC, Phil. There's only a few hours. Booth looked awesome, but it was very busy. So you had, how many people were how many BirdDog guys were at the booth actually handling customers? Because at NAB we had like 14 people or something like that, which was probably overkill, but we were busy. I didn't ever recall a time where people were just really standing around wasting time.
Yeah, no, there were 6 of us in total, so sort of BirdDog staff, and we also had some help from some of our distributors. So like James and Chris and Jason from Holden jumped in and helped, and Francois as well. So it was good, and they were there at the right times when we were busy. Could we have done with some more people? Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, Eamon didn't make it. He was due to be at the show. So for all those people that were expecting to see him, he was unwell, unfortunately, between Sydney and Singapore, and ended up turning around and heading back to Oz. Fortunately, it wasn't anything serious. It was just a horrible dose of tonsillitis, but he ended up heading back. Hence why we stole Jake from the US for the week. It was great having him over. Jake's technical knowledge was a great help on the stand. Yeah. And we did have a lot of customers from the US and Canada over as well. So that sort of really helped.
Oh, nice.
So he was able to talk to them about projects and things that were going on over there that they knew about already. So that's really good. We weren't too far from Netgear as well. So I was like to say thank you to Netgear. We did actually borrow a switch from them for something else, and they were very happy to lend us an 8-port switch, I think it was. Which was
nice.
Great.
Was it one of those desktop units?
We saw the desktop unit, absolutely. Yeah, it was really interesting. The power supply is nearly as big as the actual desktop unit, so it was actually quite funny. But once you go over the fact that you've got a big power supply floating around somewhere on your floor, the actual desktop unit is about the same size as I think I've got an 8-port Ubiquity 2 switch sitting on my desk at the moment, so about the same size. So it looked really cool. It just like they've chopped one of the 8-port ones in half.
Right. Yeah, I've yet to see one physically. Apparently, they had one at NAB, but and John Hinkle was supposed to bring it over and have it on the podcast, but he's like, nah, it's just being passed around way too much over there, so decided not to bring it. Try not to steal it from the booth. They only had let's say a limited quantity of them for people to look at, and they were quite a highly. It's one of those units that it may not be your best seller, but it's one of those necessary units to have in the industry. Netgear is really used to having small, like portable switches. Their GS series has a whole bunch that are just like desktop units or whatever, and they're okay. But what I really want is an AV switch that is easy to throw down on the desk of a technical bench in like a church, but it has the brains of the 4250 line, because the profiles and the routing capabilities and the priority for NDI is really what sets them apart right now, opposed to other switches, even though people are, a little partial to their brand. But I think if you could get some switching companies to, pay attention to the AV market, which there is a fair bit of demand, and that is, this IP based stuff is where things are going, where everything is going, to be honest with you. And so they're probably missing a market, like by not prioritizing it. They're probably missing an opportunity to capitalize on a big void, which is, I think, what Netgear's up to. And so they're way out in front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look around in all corners of the market, from news to broadcast, colleges and schools, they're all moving towards IP-based solutions. We've got GB News in the UK. It's an entirely, apart from I think 6 SDI connections, it's an entirely NDI-based workflow, and they have somewhere around about 500 streams running around on their network.
Wow.
University that's being built in the UK at the moment is basically being wired for IP. The entire campus is going IP, including NDI products. Live production, reality shows, another key one. Big Brother in South Africa was recently completed with 162 BirdDog cameras, all running back into a couple of TriCaster 2s. So again, a complete NDI workflow. So yeah, absolutely. The competitors, Cisco's and all the others are missing a trick at the moment, and they'll certainly be playing catch up to Netgear.
Well, yeah, and even just understanding the protocol, like spending the time and getting it right, like that seems to be a big part of it. So I'm really impressed that at least that they're putting a fair bit of like man hours behind it to try and get it right and make it better, and not just enabling it like, oh, we enabled the NDI profile and then off to the next thing. It seems like they have a couple of guys that are really invested in making sure that it's evolving as the NDI protocol evolves. Let me jump here real quick. So that request for the cloud use cases, he says, I'm looking for a remote production solution for football clubs. Do you know anybody in the UK that's doing, or in Europe that's doing, cloud for sports?
Not at the moment, but it would be an ideal user case. In fact, no, I do know one customer that's been testing it. Unfortunately, I can't say who, but they are a Premiership team, I can say that. And they've been testing cloud very recently and looking at how they could use it in their sort of studio and different things. But it would be a great user case. Certainly football for producing remote productions from a central control point, having cameras, different football grounds. It would certainly work. I think the only thing that, as always, to be careful on with that would be the networks that are available to you at the football sites. I know sometimes the security and opening up ports to allow the streams through and stuff could be an issue, but other than that, why not? It's what cloud was originally designed for. Going back to 2019, it was designed as a remote production workflow tool for cloud.
Now what are your thoughts on, because I've seen some of this happening on Facebook, what are your thoughts on using like dedicated cellular network connections, like a 4G, 5G situation? Because I know we've done some of that at NAB, and I didn't necessarily go out there and say this initially because the last thing I want to do is to be promoting cell network remote productions, but they have been in existence for quite a while, including LiveU and such. And so we had a cellular connection at NAB because we didn't really want to pay the exorbitant costs at NAB, and so we found an alternate route of basically using cell service, and it actually reliably worked pretty well for the week that we were there. I was actually quite impressed by what sort of connection we could get. So I'm curious, especially in a non-crowded situation like where, well, NAB is crowded and so are sports arenas and that sort of thing, but remote productions using something like that where you can connect over data networks, perhaps it's an option. I mean, depending on what your data stream is, right? Do you know of anybody that's doing or playing around with that idea?
Yeah, there's a few people playing around with that idea. In fact, we ended up we did actually buy a 2 meg connection from Rye, and unfortunately, at times we were getting less than 50 kilobits. So we won't be paying the extortionate amounts of money to a exhibition hall for internet connection again. So Jan actually ended up buying a cellular device, and it works perfectly, even with the infrastructure around it, the hall, the steel, and with thousands of people walking around with mobile phones. It was pretty stable, and he was able to do some pretty good demos. In terms of cellular stuff, there's a few companies that we worked with to integrate our cameras into their workflow over sort of bonded cellular networks. With like bridge control, so that they can control PTZ movements and stuff as well. So it certainly has its place. I think the Greek World Cup, was it 2021, actually did it via 5G. So they did a sort of, the whole production was done via 5G. They actually had a university with us that came to see us at the show, who were doing some testing with full NDI over 5G networks as well for some stuff. So it's certainly being used.
Well, I'd love to see those use cases, because that's always been the question. It's like, okay, how do we do the Wi-Fi stuff? And it's like, well, You don't. I mean, Wi-Fi is always 2 generations behind any wireless connection or any wire connection that you can get. And so it's hard to tell people, okay, like AX is fine, or whatever standard you're going to stand behind, because in the same vein, NDI is also evolving. And so you get things like NDI HX3, for example, which is a cross between as far as I can tell, a cross between full NDI and HX2, where they increased their bandwidth and they lowered their latency. Well, that is the nature of NDI. It's that we increase the bandwidth as much as we possibly need to get the lowest possible latency, whereas HX is the other way, where they're trying to get it down to a low bandwidth, but it increases the latency. And so HX3 was kind of this cross between, even if you look at the on-screen cutout that NDI produced when they announced HX3, it like literally sat between full NDI and HX2. And I was like, well, the difference is that they just increased their bandwidth. They increased the bandwidth, and so it lowered the latency, and that makes total sense that's what that is. Now, I'm sure there's a development difference as well. It's not just that easy, but on paper, that's what the comparison chart, I saw that instantly. I was like, that's exactly what it looks like. It's just they're just using a bit more bandwidth and reducing a bit more latency. So it was an interesting. It's always an interesting conversation, because we need it to be as diverse as it possibly can. And when you're talking about full NDI, like the BirdDog flavor of things, at least what we specialize in, we're going for lowest latency. And so we want it to be as fast as possible, as close to SDI standards as it has been in the industry. And so, so the conversations that begin around that is like, well, what sort of networks are suitable? Of course, early on in the days, we didn't really have any recommendations. Now, BirdDog Support has some recommendations. Those are slowly trickling out into the world and into our packaging as well, which is great. But that's always been the question, is like, well, what sort of network can I use this on? Can I buy a $40 switch from a big box store, or do I need to have like a real infrastructure, or do I need to have a budget to continually maintain that, or what does that look like? So okay, I'm neglecting the comment section again, and people are commenting.
Obviously the big difference between full fat band, high bandwidth NDI and the other variants is iframe against long GOP as well, which obviously has various different arguments. Yes. 2 and 4, particularly in broadcast environments, for editing and various different things. So
yes,
I'd love to see a row of screens all playing the same footage, being decoded to HX, HX2, HX3, and full NDI. Panasonic did it a few years ago on a stand at, I think it was ISE, where they had source material, they had an HX decoder and a full NDI decoder. And at that point, you could really see the difference in the latency and also the coloration and picture quality. So I think it'd be a really interesting thing. Maybe NewTek will do it for us. Who knows?
Yeah, it's unlikely, because they're really still pushing the HX brands and they're not doing much with the full NDI stuff. But that would be, now that we are, with the announcement of Silicon 2, that might be something that we can start demonstrating as to, like, here are the 3 standards. We think they're all, they all have their place. And I fully agree with that, by the way. I'm not an anti-HX guy. I think that they have their place. And if you're in live production, or you're looking for, the highest quality that you can possibly get, I don't think there's much in the NDI realm that compares with the full NDI standard. But there are pros and cons to that. I mean, you have to be able to support it. You have to be able to run it on your network and that sort of thing. So, you have to, me personally, and part of the reason for the show even is, we need to do better about talking about what is required to get the best quality picture. And, again, that's one of the reasons here is I want to be available to suggest that, suggest solutions to make that happen. Is that if you set up an infrastructure that's pretty basic, or is missing some key elements, you're going to get different outcomes than if you set it up based on, recommended. And for a long time, we didn't have recommendations. And so, that has evolved over time as the protocol has evolved. So, okay, I do need to jump into the chat here to honor some of these people that are commenting. Have BirdDog thought about a multi-stream NDI to SDI or HDMI breakout box? Something that would bring NDI to ATEM mini switcher users. A multi-stream NDI. So are you talking about?
So it sounds like a quad.
Well, it does. Yeah, that is what a quad is. I guess it's you bring in the NDI over preferably fiber, SFP plus fiber, and then it breaks it out into 4. You can assign each of the units to decode, 4 individual NDI streams, and so that is what a quad is. We don't have an HDMI version of that. There's no HDMI version of that, but a quad would be you could set it to decode mode in today's firmware, set it to decode mode, and it would decode 4 individual NDI streams out to SDI, and then you could plug each of those into your mini switcher or whatever it is that you have. So let me know if that helps at all. Oh yeah, and then Tom says that sounds like a quad. So I should probably read the few comments after people comment, but anyways. Some explainer videos on BirdDog Cloud would be awesome. Those are coming. That I can promise you, because there is a huge overhaul in education, and we're going to have some of my cloud experts on here. I need to get Jan on the show just because it would be good to see him again, since I haven't seen him since April. But also guys like Jake and CJ, those guys who have been on the show, would be great to have on here to kind of give us an in-depth, granular look at what's going on. Hope that BirdDog's coming to Broadcast India 2022. When is that? Let's find out.
It's soon. I think it's October. At the moment, we're going to have kit on our distributor CDM stand, and I believe that Jason and Eamon will be dashing over for a couple of days to the show.
Oh, cool. So there will be a BirdDog presence. May not be a booth, but you will see our products around the show.
Yeah, well, you certainly see our products, and hopefully you'll see Jason Bock, who's our sales engineer over in the APAC region, and of course, I think everybody knows Eamon, so he'll be there as well.
Yeah,
hopefully.
as
long as he doesn't get tonsillitis again.
Yeah, guy needs to stop getting sick on trips. He definitely got sick at NAB, probably because of me. And he definitely got sick on this last trip for IBC, and there was another one that he was sick for. But anyways, that guy's got a stroke of bad luck this year. So I know his travel plans are getting less and less to the end of the year on purpose. But hopefully he can turn that around. Oh, shoot. Oh, Jason. So everybody loves Eamon because Eamon's a recognizable face, super friendly, really easy to get to know, and he sticks out like a sore thumb. But if you are in the APAC region, you definitely need to get to know Jason, because I got to hang out with him for a week with Phil in Melbourne, and he is such a cool guy, and he's just got a real down-to-earth sense about him, and is ready to work with the Asia Pacific market and get you guys up to speed. We're bringing on some folks that are going to help him do that in terms of retailers and distributors in that area. And so really excited for the potential here at the end of the year and into next year for him, because he is going to be a great resource for us over there. And he's a super great dude. I really like him a lot. So if you see him around, he's probably going to be one of 2 guys wearing BirdDog swag at that show at BI 2022. Definitely go and shake his hand and say hello and make sure that he knows who you are, because he's a guy worth knowing. Can you explain how the Cloud Connect will work for a Flex In when Silicone 2 comes out? Okay, before we jump into that, because Phil, I'm going to toss it over to you. Cloud Connect and Cloud are 2 kind of different things. And so we should differentiate between those 2, because I do have a lot of tickets in the help desk where people say, I can't get Cloud Connect to work. And what they mean is cloud. And so we should differentiate between the 2, and then try and give some try and entertain this question here in terms of Silicon 2 and how that we foresee that working. So first of all, from a pre-sale standpoint, can you define for me and for the audience the difference between Cloud and Cloud Connect?
Yeah, so cloud is designed to work on traditional computers, creating a link from one point in the world to another point in the world. So that relies on either a Windows or a Linux-based system to be active as your endpoints. Cloud Connect then allows you to take that one step further. I think we're calling them Cloud Connect apps now. Allows you to take your distribution then one step further and then transmit your NDI sources, or make your NDI sources available then on other internet-connected devices away from that PC that's doing the encoding or decode. So that could be a smart TV, it could be an Android or an Apple device, Apple TV. So there's various different types of workflows that can then be incorporated within the Cloud Connect family, so post-production and different things as well. So that's really the difference. Cloud is a point-to-point connection between endpoints or PCs. Cloud Connect allows you then to come out to a greater audience, to come out to other devices and view NDI.
Awesome.
With regards to Flex, so all of the Silicon 2 means that all of our cameras will have the ability to output SRT directly. So there'll be no requirement to have a PC on site that's connected to the cloud that's taking in an NDI and converting it to SRT to then push across the SRT pipeline to your receiving endpoint, where you then decode it back to NDI or do whatever you want to do with it. So that will make remote productions a lot easier, because all you'll need is your camera plugged into the network that's connected to the internet, and that will then see the SRT stream as an endpoint within your Cloud Connect management system, and then you can just pull that across with control and all of the other features that you have within Cloud. So it'll be really does aid remote production.
So I'm super excited about this. If all of this comes to fruition, because that is the dream, is to have, like, we launched Cloud. And then people were saying, okay, I plugged in my camera to the network, but I don't see my camera in Cloud. And so it started like almost day one when we launched Cloud in 2019. People were like, wait, what is this endpoint that I need? Like, don't all my BirdDog cameras just connect? And then it was like obvious, okay, that's the next thing we have to basically work towards, is figuring out a way to get the cameras to natively talk to Cloud, the Cloud matrix that you already own. And so there's a lot of items that are going to have to be ironed out and sorted out from a technical standpoint. But if we get to this where SRT is generated on the camera and it can be connected directly to Cloud and you can traffic those things without an endpoint, that is going to be a huge leap forward, because it's going to make Cloud a whole lot more versatile than anything else that's out there, including some recent launches from the NDI world. So really excited that that's kind of like what we're shooting for. I can't say how fast that's going to evolve, but that is the ultimate goal right now. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
So I just seen a question from Nifab. So yeah, Cloud Connect can be used as a viewer app for cloud sources. Yeah, absolutely. So depending how you're viewing it, if you're on a smart TV, we'll have things like CEC functionality built in, where you can actually then, using the TV remote, switch between NDI sources. But equally, depending on how you're using it, a post-production workflow is probably a good example. So we have a cloud plugin for Adobe Premiere. So the editor could be sitting in London. He's then running on his Premiere. He's doing the edit. Producer sitting in LA, and he wants to be able to see what the producer's doing. So the editor can then create a cloud connection using the Connect app that's embedded within Adobe. That will then allow the producer to then bring that up on his smart TV, his PC, his laptop, his iPad, and actually then view what the editor's doing in almost real time. We're talking really low latency with this as well. And then if he's using a device that's got an embedded camera, so your iPad or your PC, you can then actually do a picture-in-picture scenario where the editor and the director or the editor and the director can actually talk to each other backwards and forwards, again in real time using the cloud app, which is really useful. So no phone calls, no having to be on WhatsApp or on a Teams call at the same time, all done through the one connection. And that will then allow the editor then actually switch between views as well. So, the producer director may want to see the master output rather than actually viewing the timeline, or he might want to jump back to the timeline to see a string of cuts and edits and mess around with those. So that's a really good way of being able to use it both as a viewer, but then actually as a feed to go back as well.
Right.
So there's lots of different uses for it. It'll be amazing to see what people actually come up with as well.
Yeah, it's so stinking cool because, and before we, invent it all and whatever, we have our ideas as to how people are going to implement it. But like all of our products, people come out of the woodwork, man, and they're using our stuff for all sorts of crazy things that we never imagined. We get it all the time in support, where we have to spend time like wrapping our brains around, like, okay, where did you put the camera, and like, how are you using it, and what's the configuration, and like people needing to mount A200s upside down so that they can, because it's the only place that a camera can go. And so and it's like, okay. And we're talking about weatherproofing options and like it just gets it. We have an idea as to how it could or should be used. And then customers take it and run with it and create really cool solutions with our stuff that, again, only happens when it launches. So it's good. It's good stuff. I will take a quick moment here with Phil. Two things. The first thing is be sure if you missed the show, or you're watching this after the fact, or if you need to have technical support that goes outside of what this show can offer, by all means, shoot us an email at help@birddog.tv. Include as much detail as you can about the situation that you've got. But I've got an amazing group of guys. They work like crazy, and we're in the process of even hiring more to meet the demand that we have for folks that are doing just this, that are implementing items or our cameras or our solutions, and they need a little help getting things started or getting things sorted. And so my team at help@birddog.tv are super helpful. Great group of guys. Feel free to shoot us an email if you are unable to come to the support show from Tuesday, Thursdays at 11 to 12 Eastern time. Maybe the show is 1:30 in the morning in Melbourne, like it is right now, 1:43. And I did a show a couple of weeks ago in Melbourne, and it was the middle of the night, and that was a doozy. So the other thing I will push is, of course, be sure to head over to the good old Google and type in birddogjohn.tv. That will take you to the actual my YouTube account. If you subscribe there, you'll be able to follow all of these. Anything that I do or anything that we produce on this channel will be posted to at least to there. So feel free to hit us up there at birddogjohn.tv, and that'll take you over to my YouTube page. Special thanks to Beep Chirp, who does the DNS redirect for that little link, and then also sends us like food and stuff. So that's cool stuff. All right, let me just jump here back to the chat real quick. NetHab, he really wants two switches that sit side by side in a 1U for primary and secondary networks. That'd be an interesting configuration. You could always actually, with that being said, you could always shoot that suggestion over to Netgear's Pro AV design team. They may have something in the works about that. I don't know. That's their input. Pro AV design at netgear.com. Also, if you have questions about the 4250 line and how to configure your switch for NDI, especially full NDI BirdDog stuff, hit up that address, because that is their support line. They fully support NDI protocol on their switch, on their 4250 switch, and they respond pretty quick over there. So it's a nice little plug for them, but definitely worth hitting them up if you have any questions like that. For now, he's got to Velcro a couple of them to a rack shelf. Oh, that's the IT way to do it, is grab some industrial strength Velcro and get that shelf out. So, all right, we
exactly what we do at shows.
Yeah, exactly. We Velcro, or I have little under cabinet rack mounts that we use sometimes. At least we use for NAB. So I'd love to see a BirdDog audio appliance with some inputs and outputs. So converting audio sources to NDI audio. Is that what I'm hearing? And he's also looking for a 4G 5G solution, which we spoke about. He's currently getting 20 to 50 megs, so that would be enough to do a cloud solution. 20 megs would be enough if that's your minimum, or your minimum data. Then 20 megs would do a single stream for sure. That wouldn't be a huge deal. I've used bonded 4G 5G remote productions for sports the last few weeks, and it's worked great. I agree. Those bonded networks do seem to work pretty well. I can attest that I have used one once, and it worked in a very busy trade show. So take that for what it's worth. It's just an observation. But yeah. Yep, he had missed the quad conversation. Forgot about it due to the cost of it, hoping for a lower HDMI version, I guess. Oh, okay. Well, I'll take that suggestion down. See if we can send that up the chain. RUDP and 802.11ax are the best combo I've found with full fat NDI. Interesting. If you would send us any sort of YouTube video of you using that combination of things, I'd be very interested, Philip, in seeing that solution in real time, because that would be a great vouch for. So that's NDI 5 running RUDP and NDI and 802.11ax Wi-Fi standards for full NDI. So that's what we're up to. So I'm always interested to see what people are doing, and yeah, good stuff there. Okay, so this was a lot of these comments are well back in the conversation that we were having. So yeah, in response to the multi HDMI right now, mini or pod would be your BirdDog options. Pod, I don't think pod would be an option right now, right?
No, pod's not an option.
Yeah, pod wouldn't be an option, but a mini would be the option there. iframes versus long GOPs, which is full NDI versus HX is what that conversation was. What is expected for bandwidth needs for Cloud Connect? So, well, it depends on your encode, like what you set as your encode. So with cloud, at least what I found, and Phil, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but with cloud, it's more of a, you're opening up a pipe to use, it's allowed to use a certain amount of bandwidth, whether it does or doesn't. Like some people say, oh, I put it at 10 megs. Well, it doesn't fill 10 megs at all times. I've known, at least, again, this is from my observation, is when I'm encoding with a GPU on cloud, it can use up to 10, but it generally doesn't use the full bandwidth. It converts it to SRT and then sends it out, and that's like the threshold. That's like what it can use per stream. And so you can, depending on what you have, if you've got 50 megs per second, well, that's, theoretically you could use 5 of those pipes, or if you restrict it down to 5 megs or 3 megs, you could obviously then multiply those out, but it gives it a threshold. Am I tracking on that? Is that at all correct, or am I off in how cloud is supposed to work?
No, that's how it works. So it's like a slightly variable sort of bandwidth. So it sort of has a few spikes here and there because you're running across the public internet. So obviously there's a lot of traffic running around. I mean, Cloud Connect as well uses slightly different encoding options, which I think are slightly different. So we use VP8 and VP9 encoding within that. So that again, that's slightly different. And then you can vary the bit rate on that depending on the quality of the output that you want to see at the other end.
Yep. That's what I've observed, at least when I was running tests on cloud, which admittedly was a little while ago. But basically I could open it up and it would use up to 10, but it wouldn't necessarily use 10 if it didn't need to. And depending on your route, if I'm going from here to Texas, that's one thing. If I'm going from here to London or here to Melbourne, that's something else. And so really kind of truthfully, cloud2.bird-dog.tv, go there, click on free trial. You get everything but a watermark. You big giant watermark on the screen. You can test it. You can see what bandwidth you would need for your specific application, because we standardize it, like we produce a product and it's the same for everybody. However, it changes immediately when you make a connection, because your connection is going to be different than the connection between me and Phil, or me and CJ, or me and Melbourne, or something like that. And so the distance, the public internet, how it needs to route, obviously between, here and across the city, that could theoretically be done over dark fiber, but from here to London or here to Melbourne, that's going to be sent over satellites or under the ocean or all those sorts of good solutions. So the round trip time is going to be different for you than it is for me. And so the best thing to do is just to test it out, make one connection, open it wide up, find out what the maximum is, and then bring it down to around there, and then multiply your, it's not an exact science. Give yourself 20%, overhead, but then multiply out how many streams you want to use and how much bandwidth you have available, and go start from there, and make sure that it's rock solid before you purchase licenses and start mapping out your entire deployment. The free trial is designed to let you try out everything and make sure it's going to work for you before you buy. And so it's a super generous thing. I don't know a lot of companies that do that, but BirdDog is one of those. So good stuff. NetHab, IMAG to full NDI, remote production, HX or SRT. Yeah. So yes, I mean, if you're looking for an NDI IMAG solution, full NDI is really your only conversation here. People like to do, HD base, and they like to do just hardline SRT, and those are fine standards. It all depends on what you want. But the full NDI benchmark requirement is we're shooting for 1 frame encode and 1 frame decode, which means it's 2 frames. Here in the States, you're probably then running, at least 1080p 30 or 1080p 60. And so it's 2 frames at 1080p 60 is what we're looking at. And so that's a fairly acceptable rate for IMAG. But if you're running, obviously, if you're comparing it to a hardline copper SDI or, BNC connection, the BNC will probably win out because there's no encoding happening. And so depending on what your client wants or what your standards are, the difference is, in that regard, is the 2 frames worth the exorbitant cost that BNC ensues. And so to get the BNC standards, it's much more expensive to run those levels of copper than it is for you to put an Ethernet drop into those locations. And so for a cost of 2 frames and a fraction of the install costs, you can run full NDI. Or if you want to pay a lot of money up front to get the BNC and the old school stuff installed, then you can get those less 2 frames. But to me, it doesn't seem like a good compromise. Now, I don't install things on IMAG on a regular basis. And so there may be a customer who has a legitimate, need for those 2 frames not to be there. But in general, that's not the case. So NetHab, you're right about that. I would just do a flex to an A10. I mean, there you go. It depends. How many sources is he talking about, right? So the conversation is, I'd really like a quad HDMI version that I could use 1 unit to decode multiple outputs. And so, if he's got 8 different sources, he doesn't want to have stacks of flexes on his desk or in his rack. But that might be what he's referring to. Do you guys move the BirdDog booth between locations, or is it made every time from scratch? This one's over to you, Phil.
Yes, no. So there are some elements of the stand, particularly for NAB that we had made this year, that will be stored and then reused for the show next year. So those are the sort of benches in the desks and those sort of things. So for a lower cost, we can store them rather than actually getting them remade. IBC, traditionally, we'd always just had it made from scratch each year, and that was mainly because we keep changing stand size. So we've gone from a small sort of 3x6 stand all the way up to a what do we have this time, a 48-meter square stand. So we've jumped up in stand size, so we haven't had the opportunity to get stuff built and then store it and reuse it. So we will next year though. So we're storing the cabinets and things from the show. So yeah, some parts of it we get remade, some parts we do reuse. Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be an ever expanding thing. I think I know that's the case with with NAB. We did store most of that stand this year, and so a lot of those elements will be back. But just even in just while we were in Melbourne, they were saying, "Oh yeah, but there are plans to expand that to configure it a little bit different. We're gonna have to build some stuff." So I was like, "Well, at least it won't be an entire new cost like it was this year, which went into the the unpredictable costs of what NAB 2022 was. But anyways,
Yeah.
Customer creativity is always interesting and hard to support sometimes. Agreed.
Absolutely.
So Senseless is the guy that answers most of the tickets that come into the desk initially, and he gets things going. So he would be the guy that has to distill every single ticket as to how did you imagine this product working for you, and then how can we get it working for you. So it is definitely a learning opportunity for the support team and the sales guys and that whole crew. NetApp. So Cloud Connect is a viewer app for viewing cloud sources. I think that was a question. It is partially. There's a whole bunch of stuff though that's involved with cloud, which is why somebody said it would be great to have some tutorials, because there's a lot of stuff to unpack with cloud and Cloud Connect. And this is making a case to have Jake on the show more often because we definitely need to do that. GoWeb says, I need some help setting up my Netgear 4250. Well, you've come to the right place. On the well, first of all, Netgear has a video that shows you how to get the NDI stuff going for the 4250. And then my only suggestion, my only change with that video, and if you email help@birddog.tv, we can send you an article that has that in there, that has that video embedded. But the only change that I would make to that video is set up the DHCP service instead of going static, and then use DHCP on your BirdDog devices. It'll work a whole lot better and a whole lot simpler if you use the DHCP stuff. So email us if you want that video, or you can just Google for it on YouTube and it'll show up. So say Netgear 4250 NDI setup and it'll show up. And then my only suggestion is use a DHCP option that's already built into that switch that you have. And then your BirdDogs will work pretty well. If you're having problems, like you already did all that, you're having problems, then definitely either message me here on the chat or shoot us a ticket and we can definitely help you with that. Netgear has some stage boxes. I have a lot of Velcro in my studio. So what bonded solutions are people using? Peplink. This is a question for the chat, actually, because I don't have a list of recommended bonded solutions. I don't know, Phil, if you've come across one. NetHab says Peplink Max HD4 in the field to balance 310X at HQ. So there's a real world response to your question there, Phil. I'm imagining a Behringer UMC 404 HD, which I have right here on my desk, converting into NDI. So you're wanting balanced, unbalanced, like Midas inputs. Okay, if we're talking Behringer, Midas preamps, XLR or quarter inch, converting them to NDI audio. That's an interesting idea. We haven't. It's so funny about the video world, because first of all, we haven't ventured into the audio excellence thing like too much. Like we don't have an audio engineer, for example, in our engineering crew, although I've advocated for us to get one, because it's becoming more and more evident that audio is equally as important as great video. And I say that because if I produced this show and it sounded like crap, you would not watch it. Even if I was running 4K cameras and 4K, video, and the video was beautiful, if you couldn't hear what I was saying, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't watch it because it wouldn't be worth paying attention. Now, if I degraded this down to 360 and it was terrible video and it was blurry and whatever, but my audio was excellent, like I was running an RE20, it would still be valuable. You could still understand and probably get something out of it. And so it's really interesting because we do video stuff. Like that's like our number one priority is cameras, converters, getting video from point A to point B, cloud, camera director, all that stuff is pretty much video driven. But the moment that you add NDI audio into the game and you say the camera can also ingest 3.5 audio and add it to your NDI stream, and you can bring that across and then split that out on the other side in decode. Well, now you're an audio engineering company. That's what happens is you get kind of tossed in there. And I think back in the day, we added the audio thing as a feature, it also can convert the audio without realizing that there's like entry level audio, and then there's like pro audio, and we've a lot of guys are doing pro audio along with their pro video. So it's been an education to say the least. But anyway, so this idea of having a audio interface that will do XLR and quarter inch into NDI, converting it into NDI audio or decoding it for that matter, like a quad for audio, is an interesting idea. But it's not where the focus of the company is right now. Not to say it won't. It's a really good suggestion though. Rather than NDI audio, if someone could just make a way to sync Dante to NDI, that would be beautiful. Well, now you're just talking crazy. No, I'm kidding. The Dante standard is out there and let's just throw it out there. It's the IP standard for audio over IP-based networks as of right now. So I would agree with you. If you could get Dante to talk to NDI and NDI to talk to Dante, like Dante Bridge, that would be great. The issue is that we're all experiencing is that Dante and NDI have different requirements for their network, the whole QoS thing. So we're going to have to reconcile that before we can legitimately start talking about merging those networks. It's just going to be an issue. Trucky Mitch, what's going on, Mitch? I do not recognize your username, so welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey, could you use a P100 in a moving vehicle, like a semi-truck? Is there an image stabilizer and a lock focal point? Currently, I use a Sony Action Cam. I'm just really curious to see if a P100 could work. So there is a way to turn off the autofocus, so you could set a manual focus. There isn't a way to pick a focal point yet. I don't know if that's coming. I say yet just because anything is possible in the future. But as of right now, that's not a possibility, and I'm not going to promise that at all. Does the P100 have image stabilization?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Does the 110, 120? Because
Not that I remember from the specification. I think it's only the P200 upwards that has image stabilization built in.
So that let's just see if we've got the BirdDog website up. So yeah, I don't think stabilizers are on the P100s or the 100 series. So, but the 100 is whoops, that website didn't work. Okay, I put in the wrong. Let's see here. P110, 120. Here we go. So the 110, 120 is the successor to the 100. And so there's still 100s out there for purchase, by the way. There's still some stocked. I guess Phil might know better than I would. But the 110, 120 is, there's still some out there. And so, but the 110, 120 is kind of the next ones that we're making, and they're currently available for purchase as well. If I jump over to the tech specs for the 110, 120, how would you so you'd run it in a vehicle. I know people that are using our BirdDogs, various versions of our BirdDogs in vehicles. And so that is not foreign to us, but I think stabilization, if you're like driving down the road, stabilization would be required. It is not listed on the technical specs for the 110, 120 either. And so if you're looking for image stabilization, you're probably looking at a P200, which, by the way, is only like $200 more right now than a 110, 120. So if you're in the market for a P100 series camera, there is a P200 promotion going on right now, where for a couple $100 more, you can get the Sony half-inch Sony lens with the image stabilization. And this is a P200 that you're looking at today. It's just my go-to. It's my studio camera. I love this thing. And I could get the 4Ks. I have a 4K camera in here. And, I could switch them over, whatever. But to be honest with you, a lot of people are still purchasing the 200 series, and the 200 is the most popular camera we have. And so that's the one that I use, because I want people to see it, and I want people to see the quality that you get. And again, this is controlled lighting. It's actually a studio. I think it looks pretty good. I've added my little coloration here. I think it looks pretty good. It could obviously be a little bit more dynamic, but for what I do every day, I think it looks great. So good stuff there. And that hopefully gets you started there, Mitch, as to what you can use. Thanks for joining us over on Twitch. GoWeb says, I'm getting confused with the DHCP settings. You're getting confused on the camera or on the switch, because those are two different things. Once you have it set up on the switch, you shouldn't be doing anything network-wise on the camera itself. Okay, getting down to the bottom of the comments. That's good times. There is a competitor that makes an audio to NDI SRT box. Once the converters all support Dante for input, this solves most of our problems. Well, that's good to know. I'll have to Google the competitor because I don't know that one offhand, but that's all good. Phil seems to also know. So has anyone at BirdDog... Uh-oh, did I lose Phil? I may have lost Phil. Does anybody at BirdDog realize with the new naming convention that you have to produce a low-end 4K with... Hang on, let me rerun that again. Has anyone at BirdDog realized with the new naming convention, you have to produce a low-end 4K with 20 times zoom? Why do we have to? The P420? So it's interesting comment, because the 240 is only a 20 times optical lens. Now, it has a Sony lens in it that, if you read through it, it does actually zoom appropriately. But if you're just looking at hard mechanical functions, I see he's making a weed joke. Thanks for clarifying. See, I don't work in that world, so my brain did not go there. So the 420, that's interesting. That might there may be some joke that will come out on April 20th about all that. But anyways, good times. But if you go to, did we get the products? Where's that 240 announcement? It's on here somewhere. IBC promotions. Let's go there. I can throw up the BirdDog website here too. And I will get to your comments today. Thanks for joining us. I know that I'm past the normal time, but okay, here we go. Here we go with the IBC announcements. Yoink, we're going to add this to the stream. So the 240 is, yes, the new announcement. I don't know if it actually puts it here. Offers 3 outputs: NDI, SDI, HDMI. And then, of course, we're working on the Silicon 2 update, which is going to give you that. This is the one that I think is the big deal, honestly, the SRT stuff. Once we get it to SRT, that's going to be really great. So I'm because it's going to create a very versatile product to work with our cloud ecosystem. And if you haven't been watching or paying attention, then the key to remember is that, I just want to be sure here. Sorry, I lost Phil and he just sent me a message. So I want to be sure that I'm all systems go on my side. When we get it to Silicon 2, again, BirdDog is making best effort to create an ecosystem that's going to basically take your signal from start to finish. I mean, that's the goal. I think not necessarily video switching, and not necessarily, hey, what's going on, Phil? Not necessarily video switching and, all of those ins and outs, although Cloud Connect will do some of that stuff. The real goal is to provide a solution that will, that you don't really need to hodgepodge a network of things together. When we first started, and I've said this before, when we first started, we made an endpoint. We made a studio unit, and that was to convert SRT or HDMI into NDI or decode it. And it worked really well. But we have expanded our fleet since then and want to provide a BirdDog workflow where you're not necessarily needing to figure out other standards or integrate other camera protocols or all this stuff. It's just BirdDog through and through, and it works together and it talks together and it's rock solid. So that is always the goal. That's what we talked about in Melbourne. Am I articulating that correctly, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do with our ecosystem, and also with the third-party companies that we work with as well. Obviously, BirdDog make hardware encoders and decoders, but in AV environments, and also broadcast environments, you need that additional layer of control. So, touchscreen panels, control panels that can then switch NDI signals and move things around. We had a lot of those actually being shown at IBC with some of our partners. And I took Jake and Robbie around to meet a couple of them during the show, and I think probably the one that impressed me the most was the Densitron, the IDS system.
Yep.
It's really neat. The design and the interface is very nice. And you can build multiple layers to do all kinds of different things from within one panel. So for anybody out there that has any AV projects or broadcast products that need some control and maybe can't get a Crestron system because of the supply chain issues, etc., then Densitron's certainly worth having a look at.
Yeah, I agree. We did an interview at NAB. I did an interview with a guy from Densitron. Yeah, Ruben, who's he's a real cool guy, and he just had a lot to share and was super excited about the options that are kind of unfolding between BirdDog and Densitron. So it was really, it almost felt like we are at the beginning of a huge potential, and I would have loved to see what they've done so far, because I know that they were jumping in. I mean, okay, so going along with this conversation, just so to kind of bring it full circle, is BirdDog's talking about trying to be the complete solution from start to finish, but enabling that to happen by opening up the API on most of our products, like if not all of them, including our software and including various things, so that you can use X keys, you can use Stream Deck, you can use a handful of commands in vMix or soft commands on computers or whatever, or then Crestron panels or Extron panels or Densitron or whatever, however it is that you're integrating it. We want it to be usable and accessible so that people can integrate it into their systems. But again, so that it's a pretty much seamless, it's BirdDog all the way through. And you can trigger things with third-party products that are literally calling BirdDog API commands to do things for you. And so that is really the complete vision. And I think that's evolved over time, because again, initially it was like we created the studio, and that thing was like the canary in the coal mine, man. It was like this thing did a thing that no one else did, and all of a sudden it was like, oh dang, like that's a great way to get video from here over there, and I already have a network, and so it kicked off this humongous potential for for video over IP and for using NDI, and for BirdDog to really make a claim in the industry. So that's where it started, and now it's kind of starting to come to fruition. It's like, well, if we create this Central Pro, for example, if we create this product, it will allow us to control our entire infrastructure of where we send signals around our network. And then we can open up the API for that and enable things to do this, make buttons do this, physical buttons on keyboards to do these functions. And then it will command the program to do that, and so on and so forth. It starts to snowball. And then you hand it to a person who's creative and has been commissioned to create something in a space. And then they say, oh, well, if I have full control of the API, well, then I can punch that into my Crestron panel, or I can punch that into my, my third-party product that I'm developing on my own, and use the API commands to do that. And then I can guarantee results. And that is really, that really takes you to another level in terms of integration. So it's so stinking difficult to really talk through this in an hour, which we've done in an hour and 15 minutes so far, because the options are really endless. I mean, Phil has great examples of institutions or medical places or stadiums, or over in Europe, of people who have implemented our stuff in various ways, again, in ways that we never thought possible. And COVID kind of exposed a fair bit of that. No, that's a bad phrase. COVID really helped us integrate a lot of this stuff, because we needed like doctors, for example, who were restricted from travel to be a part of surgeries that were happening in different locations. And so like the P100 and cloud and a bunch of things enabled that to happen, for people to be in places where they couldn't be in real time and to provide expert advice in mission critical situations. And so, yeah, it was bizarre to watch that unfold. And now the catalog of use cases that we have of people doing those sorts of things and what is possible with NDI. I always say I'm a terrible marketing guy, but I'm really excited about what we've seen so far, because it's only going to get crazier from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you say the pandemic with COVID was just a catalyst that started people thinking, and they continue to think even now that the pandemic is over, because it's opened up so many different ideas and different ways of working for all kinds of different people. So as you say, the sky's the limit, and there's more products that are being dreamed up by the BirdDog guys and third-party partners that we work with to create even more types of workflows to sort of bring NDI to even greater crowds and things. So it would be interesting to see over the course of the next sort of 18 to 24 months where this actually ends up and how far it keeps going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. There's just from what we were they like pulled the curtain back a little bit on the development side of things when Phil and I were in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, and there is again great potential. I'll put it that way. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon, and several things we saw fully functional, which I was very surprised about that they're getting ready. So there's good things on the horizon with BirdDog, and like I said, it's really, really hopeful. GoWeb over in India says, "Hey, also, where's the play been hiding?" Over to you, Phil. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I can see that one. Obviously, at IBC over the weekend, that was a question that was asked by lots of people. Play is very close now to being released, and I believe the target date is the 22nd of September. So we're potentially a week away from seeing the plays flying out of the factory and to our distributors. We do have a lot on back order, so once they do start shipping, there may still be a bit of a delay for people that are waiting. We do literally have thousands on back order now globally. So really excited to see play and also pod hit the world, and then again see what else can be done with them, because $149 this price is a very cheap NDI decoder behind the screen, which opens up even more possibilities in places where before a Flex or a Mini or something was still too expensive to be considered. There's so much potential. I think for me, my priorities before this thing hits the fan is we've got to sort out an approved multicast network, which is already set up, by the way, in the 4250 in the NDI 5 profile. So if you set up an NDI 5 profile and then you enable it, and then you can move your devices over to multicast, because what we're talking about is Play is a device that you can stick to the back of a TV, plug the HDMI cable, there it is right there, plug it into the... Can't get the box off, though, to show you in real life. Stuck.
Mine's over in the other... Oh, no. Yeah, mine's over in my office. But you can stick it to the back of the TV, plug the HDMI cable into it, supply USB power. So there's usually a USB power port on the back of most LCD TVs these days. Plug USB into the port on the unit to power it, because it's not PoE. And then up it comes. You assign it the source that you want, and it will start decoding that source on the screen. At $150, this will change signage. This will change a lot of things, because then you can use a product like Central to see them all. Yeah, check that out. That thing is ridiculous.
So the reason I couldn't get it out of the box, because this is a brand new one, which is one that I was given when we were at HQ last week. So yeah, this is it. This is what you get. It's very lightweight. It's got the magnetic ring on the back, so you can attach it to the back of TVs. And we were demonstrating that at the weekend on the NEC screens that we had running on the stand, which had our SDM modules in as well.
Oh, and then
inside the box is a sort of USB-C to USB-A lead, so you can then plug it into your TV, as John said, to take power to then power the Play device.
Yep. Yeah. So the question that we're going to get, or the comment that we always get, is why not PoE? Well, price, first of all, and to keep it as low as possible so that they are as accessible to as many people as possible, and that there's already power at like 98% of LCD TVs that are purchased today have a USB, at least one or more. So that was a trade-off to keep the price as low as possible for that unit. And when you plug it in, get it onto the NDI network, then it'll show up in Central, and you can just assign it a source and then walk away and never have to change it, unless you want to change the source, I guess. But typically people would, the thought here is you'd be generating an NDI source with like signage or, an output from a TriCaster, which is showing a game that's happening in the arena or whatever. And this source would then be able to be shown on all televisions. There's also, well, let's just leave it at that for now, because I don't want to get to, I don't want to get into potentials for the future. But yeah, we'll. So, anyways, the plan is that Play should be available soon. That's what they were saying at IBC, and so that's a safe thing to say on the show. We'll go from there. But so
yeah, I mean, PoE modules as well produce quite a bit of heat, and if we were then having those in a unit, we'd have to have some form of fan system. We'd have to have a metal casing, which would then obviously adds weight, adds price. So that's why there's no PoE in there as well. So there are multiple reasons, and the one cable thing is always our intention with BirdDog products. However, with this unit, there's already power at where you're going to have the unit, and so it's a trade-off again to save on price. Heat is a great example. Heat destroys electronics like none other, by the way. So if you can reduce that saves on wear and tear. It saves on. It helps prolong the life expectancy of things as well. So that was the choice. Now the confusion about the announcement. It sounds like it's already out. I think that this is in regards to Silicone 2. No, it is not currently out. It is being worked on, and maybe I should just leave it at that, because I don't. Silicone 2 is another like humongous project. Like it's another, we're talking about multiple formats, our devices being able to output multiple formats. So I'm going to let the engineers work away on that. And when those announcements come relevant, then we'll see those out of the marketing department. So my question carries over from Tuesday's live show. What is Silicone 2 actually supposed to be, or what does it solve? From a support standpoint, well, and that's what I was kind of drawing at earlier, is the big announcement with Silicone 2, I think, is the SRT option. Because again, this is going to make it so the camera is doing the SRT encode and making those available without the need of an endpoint for cloud, which means that now your cameras can be deployed worldwide and you can link them to your account. You'll still obviously need a valid endpoint license, but you can link them to your account much simpler. Meaning you can ship this to someone's home, say plug it in and point it at yourself, and we'll take over the rest. And so that is it's a really cool feature that I think will benefit the BirdDog team. But maybe I'm not seeing the forest through the trees. Phil, do you have any other highlights for Silicone 2 that you're really excited about? It's probably to add in the versatility for the cameras. I mean, there's a lot of cameras at the moment out there that do HX2. There are more coming that will do HX3, and there are some out there as well, obviously other than BirdDogs, that now do full NDI. There aren't many cameras that give you the option for all versions of NDI. So flexibility, you could turn up, and if you're sort of doing live streaming, you could turn up at some point and be forced to use your client's network that's not suitable or not powerful enough to have full NDI floating around. So you have the option to then drop that down to HX2 or HX3. And, a lot of projects are still being put together using just HX cameras. So it gives us the opportunity to sort of step into a different market from a sales point of view. But
Yep.
also then, as John said, to add in, SRT as well for our Cloud Connect, to create our portfolio and to make live production from remote locations easier as well. So there's quite a few things in there that are really good with Silicon 2. And obviously we've got the NDI 5 update as well, which is a great one for the cameras, adding in 3D and some of the other functionality that came with that. And NDI Genlog will be an interesting one as we move forward as well, which we're now able to do.
Yeah, that will be very interesting to see how that evolves for like use cases, because like I said, like the NDI 5 piece, the Silicon 2 one is a major update, I think. But NDI 5 is also a major update, getting it to that standard and doing RUDP, doing multiple discovery servers, doing the NDI Genlock. That is all really important stuff in the realm of being sure that your camera can do it. And quite honestly, in terms of the grand list of features, BirdDog is right up there at the top of cameras that are currently available that do this stuff. I think BirdDog is clearly one of the top, if not the top camera available out there. So Silicon 2 will create a much more versatile product in general, if that's something that you need. I do find that people go to the market to purchase a type of NDI, but if you're able to say, well, our camera does that too, then that obviously puts you into the runnings for being an option for folks. And then of course you get the great sensor and you get the coloration that Sony is known for. So Mitch says, yes, thank you, I'm streaming from a truck. Exactly. I just noticed that there wasn't much more on this. You have people currently using them in this environment, not in trucks, but I do know of a couple of places in the UK that are using them in ambulances. And there's several others that are using them for news broadcasts. Not ambulances, but news broadcast trucks that are using cameras. I know of specifically P100s and A200s that are in those vehicles. The ambulances have the P100s, and they use them strictly for monitoring and bringing physicians into calls so that they can help while they're on the way to the hospital, which is like mind-blowing to me that that's a possibility. But also, obviously, then the news studios are using the A200s, where they're driving around with them on poles, generally lower, obviously, but driving to scenes or checking in traffic and whatever, but then also getting to a location and putting them up on a hoist, which is not really what you're referring to here. But mounted onto vehicles, yes, that is something that's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some A300s that are mounted to crowd control vehicles as well. So, sort of things that you see police cameras hanging out at big events and that sort of stuff. So we've got a few of those that are mounted to the top of vehicles permanently and on poles for that sort of thing. So there are possibilities, but it'd be interesting to see a P100 in a semi capturing video and streaming.
Yeah, for sure. Imagine a flock of bird dogs tracking the same spot on a football field with one master camera, I'm assuming. You think depends. Tracking, that word can be used a few different ways. Currently can't be done as far as I know, but there are
people working on it.
Yeah, there are developments like
not BirdDog, but
right. But there are people working on it. We might see more of that in the near future. BirdDog play in Phil's hands is making me jealous. Low production PoE units are 15 pounds. So you see still significant on high volumes. The big thing for the AV perspective with Silicon 2 will be H.264, so that you can put a preview thumbnail in your Crestron AMX panels with your PTZ controls. Interesting. That is interesting. And I actually made it to the bottom of the comment section. Wow, that me not being able to catch up to the comments has not happened in several weeks. So apparently people are jumping on the show from all the multiple platforms that we're sharing from. And I even got 2 Facebook thumbs up. So that's got to be either user group or my own personal profile. So I need to check those out and see where those came from. But excellent. Well, thanks for everybody.
Your mom and your wife, John.
Yeah, probably. It's probably like my personal friends and my wife and son are at home today. My son was sick this week, and he can't go
Oh,
back
no.
until he's 48 hours fever free, which is seems like a long time when he's 4. So we're spending the days trying to take care of him. But anyways, hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. And so anyways, yeah, they're at home today. So it may be my wife that gave the thumbs up. I don't know. It is 12:30, and we didn't even do snacks on stream because we have been chatting this whole time. And so I will do snacks on stream because the title of this show is Sushi. What did I say? Sushi Gummies or something, which is this strange packet. I don't know where it came from.
Wow.
It just appeared in my office. I think Balu brought it or somebody ordered it on. Oh, it's an Amazon order. So who knows how old this is? Is it best by used? I'm sorry, best if used by, and then there's no date. It's just blank. Yeah, so that's concerning. Yeah, so I may be out sick tomorrow, and the guys told me that I had to use chopsticks to eat this. So just an extra added element to this. So yeah, good stuff there. And then this has probably gone warm now. Oh no, it's still cold. Also in the title, Celsius Peach Vibe Sparkling White Peach Edition. Doesn't actually say what it is. However, it says essential energy with an asterisk next to it. So there's a catch. It says accelerates metabolism, also with an asterisk, and then burns body fat. So I joked with the guys, oh, great. So I'm going to get skinny on stream today because I'm going to drink this strange drink that does weird things to your metabolism. So, I think this was Beep Chirp that sent this in. Bali says he did not have anything to do with this. Anyways, so that is the snacks on stream planned for today. And of course, we have our special bumper, and we're gonna show that now.
John's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing. Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, gosh, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
That's right. It's time for Snacks on Stream, which is everyone's favorite time of the week, evidently. My little bumper video about Snacks on Stream, highlighting the Vegemite experience that I had in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago.
I haven't tried mine yet. It's still sealed in its bottle.
I think they were a little offended that I didn't want to take it home with me. And they're like, take it home. The guys at the office can try it. And I was like, I don't want to torture them. And then, of course, so the interesting story about that is I asked them how I should use it. And Phil so graciously went to the store and bought me loaves of bread. And so he rolled up, and I was like, can you pick me up some bread? And he's like, yeah, okay. So then he went to the store, bought a couple of items he was needing, and then brought back these loaves of bread. And I was like, perfect. And I told the ELT team, how do I eat this? And they said, you need to get some bread. You need to just put it on there and then just take a bite. That's like how it's done. Well, then the next day I show them this clip, and they're like, no, you did it wrong. It should have been toast, and it should have been buttered. And then you're supposed to scrape the Vegemite over it and not gob it on like you did. And I was like, well, where was those instructions the day before when I asked, how should I be eating this? That's why I sent away for bread. If I known it needed to be toast, well, I probably would have, I don't know. There's no way I would have gotten a toaster, I guess. So anyways, but my fear is that I was going to go in the next day and show them the video and be like, well, here's what I did. And then they'd be like, oh, you did it wrong. You did it wrong. So I generously poured the Vegemite, like spread it on the bread, and it was like, I don't want to be accused of not having enough because, oh, you didn't have enough or you didn't get the full effect or whatever. So I if you go back and you watch that Melbourne stream, I I slather that thing. Like there is a chunk of Vegemite on there. And then when I ate it, it was not good. So that was the result. And so then I showed them, and of course everybody laughed at me because and then they informed me, oh, you did it wrong. It's supposed to be on toast, and like really butter the bread a whole lot, butter the toast, and then just scrape the Vegemite over it, and then that's the experience. Well, anyway, so I was kind of annoyed with that. But yeah, that was my terrible experience. Not everything is bad. And we've also done a lot of spicy Korean ramen on this channel. And so I've actually grown a tolerance to spicy Korean ramen and spicy food in general. On Tuesday we did a chip that was supposed to be like insane, or the meter on the back said that it was freaking hot, which was the hottest that was the highest they got, and I ate a bunch of those and it didn't bother me at all. So anyways, it was a little bit odd, but anyway, so here is my platter of, these are just like gummy bears. This is just candy is all this is. And I was told that I was supposed to eat them with chopsticks. So that is the plan. I also see there's a few people chatting. So
I'm gonna have to say goodbye as well.
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
all good, man. It's your end of your day. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you soon.
Indeed. See everybody. Goodbye.
Later, Phil. Thanks, man. All right. Just as well, he didn't want to watch me get sick on stream, so I totally understand that. Anyways, Balu says, leave me a roll and we will get sick together. But kind of also long distance, because you'll be at home and I'll be at mine. What mixer is that? So this is a Celsius Peach Vibe something energy drink, maybe. I don't know what that is. But yeah, well, we'll try again on Tuesday. Wait, I answered that, didn't I? Web, I thought we answered that. Vegemite is terrible. Okay, so Mitch agrees with me, and I'm glad that we've come to a consensus on that. The Australians were a little bit upset about that, and Mitch says bye. So they did answer the Silicone 2 question, that you don't need a PC to run BirdDog Cloud, but the camera can do it natively. And then Phil also made a great case that it makes a very versatile, it makes a much more versatile audio mixer. Oh, that's different. Silicone 2 will basically give the BirdDog cameras a wide range of abilities that no other camera on the market has right now. So there you go. Audio mixer. So the audio mixer that I have, that is the Euphoria UMC 404 HD from Behringer. That's the one that was referenced earlier in the show. But that is the audio interface that I used at NAB 2022. I bought that one for that because I had a 2-channel, and then we were going to do 3 microphones at NAB, and then we ended up only doing 2 channels. So then I didn't really need this. But anyways, I have the ability to bring in multiple different microphones depending on the setup and depending on what video I'm doing. So generally I have an NTG2. I love that I'm like waving these chopsticks around. I have an NTG2 Rode shotgun microphone that sometimes is in here and we use when we want to delete the microphone off screen. This is my RE20 EV RE20 broadcasting microphone, which is I love. I don't have an SM7B, which everybody else does, but you got to do things a little bit differently sometimes. I might get one day, but I use them for the podcast. We actually rented some or borrowed some from Shure, and they were happy to oblige, and we really appreciate that, by the way. Great microphone, nice proximity. So when you're doing a proximity effect, so when you're doing busy show floor interviews, you get that nice close sound, but you don't get a lot of the ambient sound. So this one rejects the proximity, which is the opposite, basically. So that's what all these ribs are here for, up and down the microphone. It actively rejects the proxy, so the proximity effect. So, all right, let's now chat while eating these. Oh dear. So that this one's falling apart, but we'll give it a go. Oh. Okay, yeah. That's really good. Really good. 1 for 1. Highly recommend. Yeah, what can I relate this to? It is 100% not a sushi taste. Name the rolls as you go. Really. I have no idea what I just ate, and I'm not going to butcher. These are called Raindrop Gummy Sushis. Soft assorted candy mix. Oh, here we go. There's all the names on the back. So that was a candy Californian roll, the red one, and we'll give the green one a go. But next, I want to go to the nigiri, candy nigiri. So here we go. I'm gonna have to eat that one because I touched it. Here is the nigiri. Oh, that one's a little stale, or maybe maybe it's supposed to be that firm, but not as good. I give this a 5 out of 10. Or 1.5. The white things underneath are like marshmallows. So, anyways, still like the California roll, which is funny because I really like real California rolls. So, yeah, good stuff. All right. Wow, I can't even like chew this one. It's brutal. My daughter says hello. Hey, what's going on? Sanaya, is that right? I'm really sorry if I butchered her name. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for saying hi. Appreciate that. Save me a California. Oh, okay. I'll save 2 of them. You guys can fight over them later. Yeah, okay. I'm still chewing the fish. The marshmallow's gone, but anyways. So edamame is next. Let's give that a I need to get a little better with these chopsticks. Okay, here we go. After I get rid of this fish, it's like, can you hear my teeth squeaking? California rolls are 1 billion times better than Vegemite. I agree with you, Mitch. 100%. All right. This one does not have marshmallow. Equally as firm as the nigiri. That's sad. All right. This is known as a maki. Is that right? M-A-K-I. Uh-oh. It's stuck to the... There we go. All right. Who knows what I'm doing to my actual insides here? I mean, most of it's sugar, but this is a very strange experience. Yeah, these, when you chew these, they don't actually fall apart. But... These ones that are wrapped, they're quite good. Like this, that's pretty good. But 1 billion times of 0 is still 0. Not a California roll fan, NetHab? Oh, man. What's your go-to? Tell me what your go-to... do you do any sushi at all or no? Or technically not sushi, right? Crack open the Celsius. Let's get this party started. So, this is courtesy of my friend Brayton, my Snacks on Stream manager. So we are going to crack that open. Oh, it smells like dirty feet. Yeah, I think I'll wait on that. Reading the reviews, no one is complaining of food poisoning, so you might be okay. That's more a statement on Vegemite than sushi. Ah. Fair enough. I see what you did there. I already had dinner, and watching you eat is making me hungry again. Well, I do what I can. I'm trying to help. All right, let's see what else we got here. I finally got rid of that one. EBI is the next one, and that's this thing that looks like the like a very wonky Millennium Falcon. That's like underwhelming. Or not very exciting. That. Oh gosh, that does not smell good. I was hoping it would smell like peach, but it 100% does not smell like peach. Meh on that. Uramaki is this one, I think. What did you call me? Oh, and there's 2 in there already. This is such a weird experiment. Sitting here eating sushi, candy sushi, that has been in our office for quite a while. Yeah. Like my... This is Sanaya. Like my father, I am hungry too. Well, you might need to talk to Dad about finding you something to eat if watching me eat candy online is making you hungry. Which reviews, Mitch? Which reviews did you read, for the Celsius or for this strange is it like on Amazon or something? Can we Google that? I'm gonna Google that. It's gotta be on Amazon because that's where it came from. Raindrop gummy sushi. Raindrop. Oh boy. Check it out. $15. Good golly, man. What? Why is she doing that? That's a little strange. Oh. Let's see what other photos we got. Ready, set, dive in. It's about to go down. Oh no, just about to go down. Oh, nutritional facts. 100 calories per 4 candies. 4.5 candies. This is weird marketing. Very, very strange. Do I dare ask what people have posted? Okay. Nothing. Oh gosh. Okay. Yikes. Yikes indeed. All right, so let's finish this up here. What else haven't we tried? I'm gonna pass on this strange container of something or other and finish out today's with Akira, this right here. This does not look very good. Oh. Nope. Pass on that. Not good. It tastes like the smell of like an 80-year-old's cologne. That's what it smells like or tastes like. Yeah. Oh. Not good. I thought Dad was watching a tech show, not eating shows. Well, it's true. Dad does watch tech shows, but then they go longer than an hour and it gets odd. So, okay, let's try. Oh gosh, that was rough. Celsius. I have a terrible taste in my mouth right now. Yeah, this smells like feet. So oh gosh, no. Oh, that's terrible. Who drinks this? Oh, it just even the smell. It doesn't smell like peach. It's like if it's like if you were to rub like peach lotion on someone's like sweaty arms and feet. That's what it smells like. Oh gosh. Don't be insulted, but I'm not going to drink this. That's not cool. I will eat this though, as to get this terrible taste out of my mouth. Who drinks it after a mouthful of sugar? You would be surprised. All right. This is redeeming that whole thing that I just did. All right. It's 12:51. We've gone extra long, and I know I have an appointment at 1:00, so I do need to giddy up out of here and get on with all that stuff. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. If you come to us from one of the other platforms in the universe, thank you. That's it's nice of you to join us for a bit. Be sure to head over to birddogjohn.tv and subscribe to that channel. Anything that we do here in this studio will be produced to that channel, as well as occasionally other channels. And so we're trying to reach out to our various markets. What a meal. Indeed. The sushi's all right. Avoid the Celsius. That's no good. Try and just reach out and be available to people, answer questions. As you saw with Phil on the channel, everybody had questions. We want to talk about IBC. We want to talk about practical applications for cloud, for Silicone 2, for the new camera line, a whole bunch of stuff. So be sure that you check back with us on Tuesday, Thursdays, same time, 11 to 12-ish and into the future. And we would be happy to talk to you about what you got going on, any sort of NDI questions that you might have, or if you want to talk about what could I possibly use that feature for, we'd be happy to hash that out and let you know, what the thought process is. So really appreciate Phil for joining us today. It was a great chance to have him on and to catch up with him again. I don't see him nearly enough, but it was good. It was good to see him again and good to catch up a little bit. So hopefully more of this sort of stuff in the future. We've got hopefully a special guest coming up in a week or so. And next week, I don't know who is going to be on the show next Tuesday, but I will definitely try and see if I can rummage up somebody to join us. We will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us today, Go Web. Appreciate that. Have a great, I guess it's evening over where you're at, eh? So have a great evening, and we will see the rest of you all. This is the end of the week, so enjoy the weekend, which is fast approaching. Hopefully you're able to get some work done here tonight and tomorrow, and then enjoy some time off on Saturday and Sunday if your schedule allows. So take care of yourselves. Have a great few days, and we'll see you again on Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern time here in the US at BirdDogJohn.tv. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you around.